All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on? SHIPIT Nation YouTube station, Monday, March 25th, first round of March Madness, first two rounds of March Madness complete. In the book, Sweet 16 is set. Hopefully none of your brackets are busted out there. Coming off a big PGA weekend over here at SHIPIT Nation. I know our guy Tambo was on doing the first look show and him and Hoop. We got a big giveaway going on over on X. If you check that out and got in that, great for you. Hopefully you're in there, and best of luck to you in that. But Hamich, I'll bring you in, man. Weekend full of sports, March Madness on the television. What's going on, brother? How was your weekend overall? Happy Monday. What's up, man?
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, happy Monday. Great weekend. Great weekend of basketball, college and pro. Great weekend of SHIPIT Nation. Our guy Hebrew Cheetah in the live final took home a cool $60K. I saw we had a winner take home over a member take home over $200K in the PGA streets, but man, it's awesome. But yeah, I love that March Madness. There are some exhilarating games for sure. Looking forward to winding down this NBA season. And man, you look at some of these rosters today, Nades, I think you could go play for the Pistons tonight. I think they are in dire straits and missing a lot of their lineup.
Yeah, I mean, Pistons has just been a dumpster fire all year long, and now they head into MSG, right, and play the Knicks. So it'll be an interesting fight. We'll definitely talk about that. That's one of the first games that we'll talk about here. Again, if you guys are new, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. And if you are not a member and you want to be a member and get in the best community in the industry for the cheapest all-in rate in the industry, use that promo code HOOP15. Get you 15% off any package you do choose for life right there. 15% off takes it down to about $2 a day. When you do the monthly package, you get all the sports included there, including MLB, which opening day is Thursday. We'll have you covered here at the Nation. I believe G. Risen's going to do a show, and then our guy behind the scenes, our wizard, Boomer's daddy, I think, is going to be on that show with him. Don't quote me on that, but obviously MLB starting up here this week. We'll have you covered with that, and obviously still cover all the other sports, NHL, NBA, PGA, MMA that are going on at the same time. 4 sports going on at once, along with NASCAR. We got you covered there. Promo code HOOP15 gets you 15% off whatever package you do choose for life. Say hi to a couple people. Go collect in the building. Nate D, Charlie, LS, Jake Swales, Sean Sullivan, Ross, William. What's going on, y'all? Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's jump right in here, Hamwich. You talked about it. Obviously, this time, right, there's a lot of injury news to sift through. We got 9 games on tap tonight, so a little bigger slate for a Monday here. We're going to start talking about the first game that locks on the slate, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Charlotte, Cleveland, 207 total. Lowest total on the slate here. Also 11-point spread for Cleveland here at home. Pretty gross game. I'm not really looking at anybody, but I'm seeing a little bit of ownership right now. Go to a value play in this game. Davis Bertans here for Charlotte, but brutal matchup going against Cleveland. Personally, for me, I think this is a cross-off game. Wait till 6:30 games or 7:30 Eastern games. Wait for some of that news to trickle in and start building teams then. But do you see something I'm missing here, Charlotte, Cleveland?
Yeah, I mean, this is a gross game. You said it. I mean, anytime you mention the words Davis Bertans, you know it's going to be rough for that team. And the Hornets playing out the string, playing out the season. So won't be going there. The only real interest I have in this game is Jared Allen, and obviously at 8,200, that's pretty pricey. So he won't be heavily owned, but I could certainly see if he's fully healthy, getting him. Charlotte is bottom 5 in NBA protecting the rim, so it would be Jared Allen for me. But 8,200 will keep a lot of people off. He's a contrarian play. We often talk about it. He's not a single entry type of play, in my opinion. He'd be more of a 150 or even a 20 max on a couple. But yeah, let's talk Jared Allen. That's it for me. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, You can always play low on Jared Allen here at 8-2. Good matchup right against Charlotte, but overall, personally, not a spot for me that I really want to attack here. Not a game I'm interested in from a DFS perspective. Jump into the next one here, Brooklyn and Toronto. I do think some pretty solid plays overall, at least from a projection standpoint in this game. From a total standpoint, 220 total, so not terrible. 6-point spread here. Brooklyn favored by 6 on the road. Turns to injury news in this one. Katie Bates, Diop, Cam Johnson, Dennis Smith Jr. all remain out for Brooklyn here. On the Toronto side, RJ Barrett, Jonte Porter quickly are all out. So definitely some injury news in this one. Guys like Freeman Liberty again, right? Going to be popping in some projections at 3.9 there. Lonnie Walker continuing, Dory Finney-Smith. Think it's a decent game for some of these plays, but talk about where you're looking here. Brooklyn, Toronto.
Yeah, another one of those, gross games, right? Two teams playing out the string. No Cam Johnson, as you alluded to. No real interest in this game. The one interest I would have would be in Gary Trent Jr. I don't see an injury designation for him, so I think that's a positive sign. He was questionable over the weekend, but his last game out, he shot it a shocking 26 times. He's one of their better players, if not one of their better scorers right now with 4 starters out. He's going to play 30-plus minutes. And then on the other side, that Brooklyn team, I haven't played them all season. They're too tough to predict, in my opinion. So give me some Gary Trent, 6'3". Hopefully he can pay off that tag and, shoot it 26 times. But another one, Nades, we're 0 for 2 on teams that we like. So give me some Gary Trent, and that'll do it for me on this game.
Yeah, no, I do think you can pull some guys here. I see Jalen Wilson popping a little bit, right, because of some of those guys being out, right, for Brooklyn at 3K. I don't think he's a crazy play at a 3K guy. If we get any more kind of news, right, on what his minutes might look like, we got him at 18 minutes right here. If he gets 18 to 20 minutes here in this matchup against Toronto, I don't think it's the craziest value play. Don't love it here, but only being small forward eligible, not a great play there. But I do think Lonnie Walker, Dorian Finney-Smith are both decent mid-tier value plays as well. Outside of that, really not getting to any of these other guys here. Mikal Bridges, I think, does have a ceiling here in this spot. Don't think he's the craziest play at 6'9" here. I do at least see a ceiling, but overall, not a game I'm too interested in either to kick us off. So I don't know about 0 for 2. I think you can still pull some of these pieces, but still not a great game from a DFS perspective. Let's jump into the next game here. Boston, Atlanta. Atlanta at home here. 11-point dogs to the visiting Celtics here. One of the best teams in, obviously, all of basketball. 225 is the total. In terms of injury news in Boston, Atlanta, AJ Griffin, Jalen Johnson are injured for Atlanta. Really not a ton of news. Okongwu remains out. Obviously, Trae Young remains out as well. On the Boston side, Jaylen Brown's back. Drew Holiday remains out. Porzingis is back. Tillman and Derek White are questionable, so not a ton of news in this one. Talk about this one. I mean, Bruno Fernando at 4-4, right, with no Okongwu, I think is the play that a lot of people are going to talk about in this game, but not a great matchup here going up against this Boston interior. Talk about this one, Boston, Atlanta, Hamilton.
Yeah, I think this will be a good one. Should be a high-scoring affair. Yeah, Bruno, I think, was in Rio's live final team on Saturday, and I think he disappointed. Not that it has anything to do with this game, but just remember the name. And, yeah, you said it. I mean, this Celtics defense, pretty good. Some injury news. The biggest piece of injury news, right, is going to be Derek White. We already know Drew Holiday is out for the Celtics. If we can get one more of those big three out, not big three, big four, especially with Drew, I would like to see Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, I think, is a great play should Derek White sit. Don't mind that. And then Peyton Pritchard, up to 5,600. He's just been playing absolutely lights out. 6 straight games of 33-plus DraftKings points. If he gets the start tonight, certainly in play to have another strong performance. The Hawks, one of the worst teams in the NBA, guarding the point guard position. So don't mind that. And then my guy, we've been talking about him. We've been joking about him all season long, Nades, but Gary Bird, Garrison Matthews, finally coming out of his shell. 27 minutes last game, 30 DraftKings points. Hey, he's a sharpshooter. They get behind. He can run up and down and bang some threes in. I don't hate Garrison Matthews, shooting guard, small forward eligibility, $3,700. This may be the one and only time you can play him all year, Nades. We've joked a lot about it all season, but I like him tonight, especially if he's going to see 25-plus minutes. I think we currently have him for, if I'm not mistaken, about 22 minutes. So I like Garrison Matthews at that price. He's going to get that. If he's going to get that much run.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a play, and that's a pivot off kind of the Lonnie Walker range, right, at the shooting guard, small forward position there. And then obviously we're going to talk about some of those San Antonio pieces, right, when we get to that game with Victor being ruled out earlier today. Garrison Matthews, I don't think it's the craziest play. I don't know if I can get there in kind of single entry and 3-max stuff at 3,700. I just don't know what the minutes look like. But he's gotten 21, 27 minutes back-to-back games. Could see him. It's still a brutal matchup overall. In this game, I think Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, I think you could play one of those guys. Here, they both got great matchups against this Atlanta team here. And then on the other side, DeJounte Murray, just because of the usage, man. No Drew Holiday on him in terms of defender either. Boston's defense slipped a little bit. Obviously, it's still above average, still great defense. But losing Drew Holiday, one of the best defenders in the league, that helps DeJounte out a little bit at 9-8. All the usage coming off of back-to-back 60-point games, right? Charlotte, Phoenix. Think he's a decent play. And then Porzingis, I think, is an all right play. Outside of that, really, I don't have a ton of interest in some of these guys. Big spread. Despite the injury news, obviously, if Derek White misses, I would definitely increase my interest in Peyton Pritchard even more. I think he's a solid play at 5'6". He would obviously become one of the best plays if Derek White were to rule out. His minutes would come in, and then guys like Sam Hauser or a Svi Makayu maybe would become a little better plays as well. Let's talk about the last game here at that 30 minutes window, 30 minutes after that Charlotte-Cleveland game tips off. The last game at this first kind of 4-game set within the first 30 minutes of lock time here. In terms of the total in Detroit and New York, you talked about it, right? Detroit, pretty skeletal lineup going out there today. Hence the spread, 16-point spread here. Knicks favored by 16 at home here. Just a 212 total in this one. And in terms of injury news, pretty much the entire Pistons team is ruled out in this one. I'll read it off. Cade Cunningham's out. Duran's out. Fontecchio's out. Quentin Grimes is out. On the other side, Julius Randle's out. Mitch Rob's out. And OG Anunoby is out. Alec Burks is questionable. Lots of injury news in this one. Jalen Brunson is definitely the talking point here. Not matchup against Detroit. No Julius Randle, obviously still, right? It's been his team. No OG, right? Jalen Brunson's use has been one of the best in the entire basketball, in all of basketball. The only question is, it's hard to see him play that last rotation in the fourth quarter here. Can you get to a 9-2 Jalen Brunson here despite the matchup, despite the total, despite the large spread? But he is at home here. Any Miles McBride, any of these other value Knicks plays, and then I don't really think we're going to touch any of these Detroit pieces. At least I'm not going to. Heading into New York, it's hard to see them get up, and it's hard to see this game stay close. But you could get some of these cheap guys that will be out there for garbage time.
Yeah, let's start on the Detroit side. And I know my guy Newens is in the chat. He beat me to the punch. We normally disagree, but I'm going Metu, baby. Just like my guy Jordan. He played 39 minutes last game. Jordan was talking about him on Friday, talking about that blowout run against the Seas. Now he gets to go into New York, where presumably he's going to be a starter and get starters minutes. They picked him up off the streets. They kind of want to see what he can do. They got no bigs. They got Stewart out. They got Duran out. So you're left with James Wiseman. You're left with Metu, former first-round pick out of USC. So I actually like Metu at 4,100. I think that's a very strong play, especially with the heavy hitters that we haven't gotten to yet in Luka and Jokic. If he gets rolled in, I don't mind Wiseman either. 5,700. That's a little too pricey, but I don't think it's the worst play just because what I said a minute ago. With the limited bigs that they have, they'll be relying heavily on Metu and Wiseman. But I side with Metu much more than Wiseman based on A, the price, and then B, he's power forward and center eligible. So don't mind him. So I'm a little bit different for you as it relates to those two Pistons. I'll always talk about Jaden Ivey as well. He is 6'4", so he is kind of pricey, but he's one of their better scorers. So I think he's going to have to do it tonight to keep them close. And then I'm on the Miles McBride train, point guard, shooting guard eligible, $5,400. How many minutes did he play his last game, Nades? Do you know?
Yeah, he played every minute of the basketball.
48. Played every minute. He's one of the only two players. One of the only two players in the NBA to play all 48 minutes. I think the other one, Josh Hart, in the NBA, which is crazy to me. So Miles McBride, last 3 games, this is wild. 48, 44, 47 minutes. I read a quote. I think at Tibbs that said, he said, well, he should be rested. He didn't play much of early this season, so he's rested. He's getting minutes. And at $5,400 against one of the worst defenses in the NBA, especially guarding the point guard, I think he's a great compliment to Jalen Brunson. So I don't mind McBride. I'm not going to get to Brunson at 9.2. That's just too much at the point guard position. I'd rather find some other value elsewhere. But yeah, give me some Metu, give me some McBride, and then I'll find some pieces in other games.
Yeah, no. I see some talk about Malachi Flynn at 3.3. I mean, Flynn's going to be out there. I mean, he's going to get all the blowout run too. Obviously, the projected lineup, right, is Sasser, Ivy, Troy Brown, Metu, who obviously I do think that's a good pull because Metu is going to play blowout run too, I would assume, in this game. They just have no other big. It's him and Wiseman. And if they're going to pull one, it's going to be Wiseman, in my opinion. Then a guy they just signed, they don't want to kind of see what he's got. So I do like Metu at 4-1, I think. And then I don't think Malachi Flynn, if you need a fringe value play, right, only thing that sucks with him is minutes aren't going to be secure. It's a brutal matchup for him, and he's only point guard eligible, which does suck. He doesn't have shooting guard eligibility. But at 3.3, I do think you can kind of pencil him in for 20 to 24 minutes again here, I think, just due to the shorthandedness, right, of this team here. And if the game does blow out, he's going to get that blowout run. So I don't think it's the craziest play. On the New York side, I love Miles McBride. I mean, this guy's just getting all the minutes he can handle. Worst defense, one of the worst defenses in the league, 5,400. I mean, you're getting a guy in the mid-tier value range. Right now, he's projected to be kind of sub 10% owned as well, which I don't know how. When you're getting a guy 5,400 against the Pistons, that has a ceiling of every minute of the basketball game, right? That's going to take double-digit shot attempts and approach double-digit three-point attempts. I mean, sign me up for some Miles McBride. Really, really like Miles McBride. I think James Wiseman's a decent play as well on the Detroit side overall. So do you think you can pull some pieces from here? Miles McBride and would definitely be my favorite play in this game by far. But outside of that, great breakdown by Hamwich there. Let's jump to the next game here. Phoenix. Yeah.
I see some talk about my guy, Buddy Bayham, in the chat. Going back to the Garden where he took those cues and dominated in that Big East tournament. Any love for our guy, Buddy Bayham, tonight? I didn't hear you mention him, so probably not, but interested to see if you just skipped over my bags. At 3K, Stoneman should see about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you can play any guy at stone minimum at 3K, right? That's going to see minutes. I mean, he got 22 minutes last game against the Pelicans, chucked up 7 3-point attempts at 3K. I mean, shit. I don't think it's the craziest play again, but I do think, I think he's probably a better 3K option than the other guy I brought up earlier. So I don't hate it. I'm not going to jump into any of those narratives, right, of the March Madness tournaments and this and that. But at 3K with a very shorthanded team that I expect the game to blow out and him get blowout run, I don't think it's craziest. I mean, if a 3K guy's getting 20-plus minutes, I think you can play him as long as you're going to chuck. And obviously he's a shooter. He's a chucker. So I don't think it's the craziest play, but probably not one that I get to in kind of 1-3 max stuff, single entry stuff. But in MME, definitely think it's fine to keep in there. Let's jump into the next game. Obviously, there's big news in this game, right? Victor got ruled out earlier today. Spurs at home. Phoenix heading into town. 234, massive total in this one. Phoenix, big favorites, 12-point favorites on the road. Obviously, the big piece of news, right, in this one, Victor Wembanyama is ruled out. So, obviously, that leaves Zach Collins, chalk night, Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones. Pretty much all these Spurs are going to get an uptick in usage and ownership. Zach Collins, the biggest beneficiary, in my opinion, at just $5K here. On the other end, Devin Booker at point guard, shooting guard eligibility. Going to get you his 30 to 35 minutes here. Has a ceiling of 40 minutes. You know what Devin Booker is, combo guard here, right? Point guard, shooting guard eligibility, 8-9 for him. He's getting a lot of ownership in this spot against a great matchup in the Spurs. Definitely an interesting game from a DFS perspective. One of the biggest totals on the slate, but also one of the highest spreads on the slate. What does that do for you in terms of who you're grabbing to go to tonight in your lineup sandwich? What you looking at?
Yeah, it's another game. Should be interesting. I mean, you obviously got Wemby sitting out. He's a bona fide stud. You know, with Wemby being out and San Antonio already, you know, one of the top 5 worst teams in the NBA protecting the rim, I think we're going to get a lot of looks around the rim, a lot of extra rebounds to go. So with that being said, I like Nurkic at 7-2 at the center position. I think you can get different by going Nurkic. You know, will be a pivot off of Booker, who is slated to be almost 30% owned. I mean, Booker's obviously a great play. A, he's a great player. B, Spurs can't guard the point guard position anyway. So these Suns, I really like these Suns. You know, they got the big 3 there. They're all pretty high priced. So give me some Nurkic with no Wemby in there. Should man the boards. Should have some easy looks around the rim. My only concern with Nurk is sometimes his minutes will fluctuate, but I think it's worth the risk tonight, especially with no Wemby, especially with them being one of the worst teams. And I don't think he's going to garner much ownership, and it's a direct pivot off Booker in that same game. And then I'm with you. I like that Zach Collins call at $5,000. His minutes should get an uptick in minutes. Been in the teens now. That should go up. And also like Dominic Barlow. I think he'll go up a little bit as well, playing that backup center role. We currently have him for 22 minutes. Depending on how the game goes, I think Barlow is going to be the beneficiary of getting those big man minutes, those backup big man minutes. $3,700, he would be a value play for me that I wouldn't mind playing, especially if I was going to have some Luka in my lineups that we'll talk about here in a minute. But, yeah, don't mind them. But outside of that, no other Spurs, and I think any of the big 3 on the Suns are fine with, but it'd be Nurkic, kind of my differentiator for the Suns.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I think if you're looking for a pivot off of Booker, who I think is way underpriced for his role and his usage right now, coming off back-to-back 30-point games, real-life point games at 8-9. I mean, him being sub 9K, especially in this matchup, I think is just too cheap. Hence the ownership there. I think if you're looking for a pivot off of him, I mean, it's Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal's got a great matchup here too. Same position. Bradley Beal's still chucking the basketball. He's going to get you his minutes. Still a good matchup for him. So a fraction of the ownership, I don't think that's the craziest pivot there. But I do think Devin Booker's pretty good chalk here. His price is just too cheap for the spot, for the matchup, for the usage, everything that's going on right now. On the Spurs side, Devin Vassell is probably my favorite Spur. At 7-3, he should just see an uptick in everything with Wemby off there, and you get flop leg built in, right? He definitely laid a stinker last time he played these guys, right? 2 nights ago against Phoenix here. Played 24 minutes, shot 1 of 8 from the field, only scored 9 DraftKings points. I think it's a nice flop leg bounce back spot for Devin Vassell at 7-3 at the point guard, shooting guard. And then Zach Collins obviously expected to start with no Wemby. He's averaged almost 16 points a game, 4.5 rebounds right about in those games. In the sample size we've seen this year without Wemby on the court there with Zach Collins starting at the 5. So I think Zach Collins is fine. I think Devin Vassell is fine. I think Trey Jones is fine as well. On the other end, Bradley Beal is probably my favorite non-Devin Booker son, to be honest with you. I just think he's a good pivot with a very similar matchup, very, very plus matchup for him. But definitely a good game from a DFS perspective. Suns do have the highest implied team total on the entire slate. So if the Spurs somehow do keep this game relatively close and these guys get pretty much their full runs, I mean, some of these Phoenix guys are definitely going to outperform what their salary definitely indicates. So do you think it's a pretty good game from a DFS perspective? Jump into the next game here, Washington and Chicago. In terms of the total, 227 total, another big spread here. Chicago, 12-point favorites at home. In terms of injury news in this one, just looking at it, let me just pull it up here. Caruso remains questionable on Chicago. Outside of that, I mean, Kobe Wright is back. The injury news is really on the Washington side here. Kuzma's out. Tyus Jones is out. Jordan Poole is back for Washington. So is it a pool party with no Kuzma for you? Baldwin Jr., right? Patrick Baldwin Jr. Here at 3-7 with no Kuzma. Denny Avija with no Kuzma. Talk about the Washington side in particular. And then Vucevic and DeRozan seem to be getting a little bit of ownership here on the Bulls side.
Yeah, weather's getting a little warmer up there in Wisconsin. Nades, it's definitely a pool party tonight. You know this dude's going to be chucking back in the starting lineup. No Kuzma, no Tyus Jones. Where are they going to go for offense? I can promise you one thing, or I hope I can promise you one thing. It won't be Patrick Baldwin Jr. where they go for that offense. So give me some Poole. Really love him tonight. $6,700. Should see around 35-plus minutes and should see 25-plus shots. I think that's a great play tonight. Denny Avija, you mentioned him, $7,200. Another gentleman on Rio's team this past weekend. That's a big boy price tag to pay, but he can certainly pay it off. He should see 30-plus minutes as well. So it's Poole for me. It is Avija for me. Those would be the only two Washington members that I have any interest in. And then on the other side for me, Kobe White, he is listed as questionable right now, so obviously make sure that he plays. But he did get 36 minutes in his last time out. He did play. Just make sure he's available. Really like him tonight with no Tyus Jones, with no Kuzma. I know Kuzma is a forward, but no, big man down there, down low. The Washington, one of the worst teams defensively against point guards. Give me Kobe White. Really like Kobe White tonight. Pair him with a pool party, and we'll all be swimming tonight in that green after this one's over.
Yeah, I think my favorite, great breakdown first off. I'm a little bit different here. I think my favorite bull is actually Vus here. Vus should absolutely smash this matchup going up against Holmes here in company. 8-5 is a tricky price point to play. I mean, he just smashed this matchup earlier, right? Earlier this month, went for over 50 plus. 8-5, I'd like to get him at 8-5. If he gets me 50 plus again, I think that's fine. I'd like to see him 55-60 here, but if this game does stay close, I think he definitely has a ceiling for that. On the other end, I think Jordan Poole is a great play here. Chicago is one of the biggest three-point funnels in the entire NBA. That definitely helps Jordan Poole. But the other guy that helps is Corey Kispert, small forward, power forward eligible. 5,500, not a great price point for him, but he's a catch and shoot, three-point guy. I don't think he's the worst play in that mid-tier. And then obviously the two biggest beneficiaries on this team also, right, with no Kuzma is Corey Kispert and Denny Avija. So not having Kuzma, the three-point funnel, everything. I think Corey Kispert is a pretty interesting play here at 5-5 at very low ownership. So I think he's good. I like Denny Avija and then Jordan Poole. Patrick Baldwin, I think, is a solid value play overall. Not someone that I'm looking to kind of get in. Definitely, I like those other values we talked about already at that similar $3,700 price point that have dual position eligibility. Like Me Too, right? I like Me Too a lot more that you can play at power forward than a guy like Baldwin here. And then Vus for me on the Chicago side. I saw you threw something up there.
Yeah, I just saw Nate D. He's having a little pool party. He's going swimming in the pool. Nate D, I see out there. And then our guy Jordan likes AO. Any interest in AO tonight? 7-1. That's a little bit too much for me for AO, but interested to see your thoughts. I didn't hear you mention him, but less than 2% ownership. I guess I don't hate it, but man, that's a hefty price tag for him in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard for me, man. I mean, I think he's a solid contrarian play, right? In terms of GPPs, but at 7-1, man, his price is up there. It's still DeRozan's offense. I mean, DeRozan offense still runs through DeRozan, still runs through Vus here. DeRozan's going to get all the ownership. So if you want to look for a pivot on the same team at a similar price point, if you don't want to go up to the center and go Vus, dropping down to IO at point guard, shooting guard instead of small forward, power forward for $1,100 cheaper. I don't hate it, but not something I'm looking to do. I would like it better, right, if Kobe White or Caruso were out still. But Kobe White's going to be back here. And then if Caruso's in, I really wouldn't like it kind of at all here at his price point. But, hey, Newlands knows what he's talking about. He's a very sharp player. If you got to lean on him, he's going to be probably 2% ownership or less, and could be a differentiation factor for your lineup to get you all the way to the top and ship all the money. Let's jump into the next game here. Portland, Houston. We have 3 games left to talk about. This game locking at 8 p.m. Eastern as well. Last one of the set at the 8 p.m., 7 p.m. Central Time window. In terms of the total here for Portland and Houston, 226 total, another massive spread game, which is kind of the nature of the slate. A lot of double-digit spreads here. So, obviously, a lot of these games tonight could get ugly and could blow out. You got to kind of pick the ones that you have a lean on that you think are going to stay close, at least competitive enough for your guys to kind of pay off their salaries. Portland, Houston, 12-point favorites for Houston at home here, 226 is the total. In terms of injury news here, Jabari Smith is suspended still. Cam Whitmore is out for Houston. Outside of that, Houston has their guys in there. Injury news is really on the Portland side. Ayton's questionable. Jeremy Grant is doubtful. And then Anthony Simons obviously remains out for Portland. And then Thibault is questionable as well. Scoot Henderson is another Scoot night, going back to Scoot and Boogie there against this Houston team. Chris Murray. And then any of these guys, right, the Amen Thompson, Fred VanVleet, Jalen Greens of the world on the Houston side. Pretty much all the ownership is right now on the starters for Portland, and then any Rockets for you looking good here, Portland, Houston.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. I mean, when I was looking at it earlier, I think there's some pieces here in this game. I mean, yeah, you got Boot Scoot Henderson. It's going to be pretty chalky tonight, $6,100. I don't think it's the worst play though. I personally would pivot to Banton, same price, point guard, but Banton's shooting guard eligible as well, and he's $200 less expensive, and he's coming in about a third of the ownership. It should see right around the same amount of minutes as what we have him projected as. So it's Banton over Henderson for me. I don't mind that. And then on the other side, I mean, goodness gracious, what's gotten into Jalen Green? That dude's turning into a bona fide superstar over the last 2+ weeks. This Rockets team is rocking and rolling. They are shooting up the standings as we speak. I fully anticipate them being in that play-in game this season. So they have a lot to play for. If Ayton sits, I would love to play some Jock Landale at $5,300. I think Jock's a great play. If Ayton sits, he's been only getting 20 to 25 minutes splitting time with Jeff Green, but at this point in their careers, I think Landale's much better than Green. So I like Jock Landale. I like Jeff Green if he were to start. I just think these bigs for Portland are bad if they don't have Ayton. But I'm going with Banton over Scoot tonight, Nate. Interested to hear if you're similar to that or if you're not that same way.
Yeah, I think my favorite play actually on Portland is Chris Murray here at the small forward position, 4,300. I mean, this is kind of a modified Miles McBride to an extent. I mean, 33, 36, 39 minutes here. 4.3 is the price point. I know he's going to get some ownership here, but I do like the matchup. I like the minutes, right? We have him projected for right around 33 minutes. If he gets you his 33 minutes at 4.3 here, I don't mind him. I think he's a pretty solid play. If Ayton were to miss, which we won't have this news, luckily there is still late swap here. If Ayton were to miss and Duop Reith does slide into that starting lineup at sub 5K here in this matchup, I think he's a good play. And then I'm with you. Jeff Green is likely going to start here for Houston. I much prefer Jock Landale to Jeff Green. I think Jeff Green's going to get the ownership here at 4.2. Give me Jock Landale. It does suck that you can only play Landale at center only, but I think this would be a good spot for Jock Landale here if in this game. So Don't think it's crazy, especially if Ayton's in that game. They're gonna need Jock Landale in that game, and you could see an uptick in his minutes. So don't think he's the craziest play at 5'3". Not a great play. His minutes are definitely sporadic. But if Ayton were to play, I think that increases his minutes a little bit. If Ayton's out, right, Duop Reith, I think, becomes a fantastic play at sub 5K. And then Jalen Green is still too cheap for his production right now. I mean, he scored at least 40 real life in 2 of his last 3 games. Even the game he didn't, he scored 40 DraftKings points. He's going to play you his 40 minutes. He's going to take 20-plus shot attempts. Right now, it's 10-plus three-point attempts as well. Pick you up some rebounds, pick you up some assists at 8-8 here against Portland. I still think he's a good play on the slate. Nice you can play him at point guard and shooting guard eligible. Seeing him pretty low owned right now as well. So I do like some Jalen Green as well in this game. Don't think I'm going to mess around with the boot Scoot and Boogie here, Scoot Henderson or Banton, any of that. I think I'd rather just play, like I said, Chris Murray as a value piece from Portland. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at in that game.
My guy Jordan says that Green's out here doing it for the fam. I don't know how many kids he has now. I know it's quite a few with quite a few different people. So keep it up, Green. You'll get all those mouths fed. We appreciate you what you're doing this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think his checkbooks will be all right despite the number of kids. I mean, they're in a little different tax bracket than the rest of us here. But hey, best to him. Let him live his life, man. Don't hate the player, hit the game, right? Let him do his thing, man. If he keeps making us money on the DFS end, I mean, he can do what he wants, right? So let him keep running out there. Let's jump to the last 2 games on the slate. First one we're going to talk about here is Dallas and Utah. And man, if this matchup couldn't get any better for one of the best players in the entire land, right? Luka Doncic here, going into Utah to face these Jazz. We have a ton of value on this slate, and you're going to need it because Luka's priced up to 12.8 here. But man, from a matchup standpoint, Luka, I mean, this has got to be one of the best matchups you could obviously envision for Luka. He just saw these guys right 4 nights ago. Went for 65, scored 34 real life. Just missed the triple double by a rebound and 2 assists. If he gets you that triple double, I mean, he's up close to 80 again here. Talk about this spot. I mean, Luka, you got Keontae George. It's pretty much the focal point of this game. Obviously, focal point of pretty much the slate is, are you going to spend up for Luka here? We have a lot of value to do it, right? Guys like Chezzy Metu that we talked about. You got some of that value on that Brooklyn side. All the other values, right? Like the mid-tier Miles McBrides. Is it a Luka night for you? He's coming in at probably right around 30-ish% ownership here on the slate. Talk about Utah and Dallas in this one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Luka is always a great play. You don't need me to tell you that, but I'm going to be out on Luka in a 3 max just based on the price. I actually think that Kyrie's got a better matchup and can do better point per dollar. I mean, like you said, they played. I think the last time out they played and Kyrie, played 35 minutes, only ended up with right around 40 DraftKings points, but the Jazz really struggle with combo guards, which is what we have Kyrie listed as. And I don't think he'll outscore him per se. I think point per dollar, I do like him better. At 9, I think it's 9.4 tonight is what Kyrie is. I mean, Luka's obviously a great play. If you can jam him in, absolutely do so. I'm just saying, I think Kyrie's not a bad play either. Another guy that I like, and I don't know if you were going to talk about him, would be Daniel Gafford, playing that center position. 42 DraftKings points last time they played a couple of nights ago. So don't mind Gafford, running that back tonight. That would do it for me on the Mavs team. I mean, PJ Washington down to $5,200. You want to talk about the ultimate cardio king? It's PJ Washington on this Mavericks team, shooting it horribly, not doing much other than running up and down. And then on the other side, I think the only one for me would be John Collins at $6,700. Minutes have been declining, but I think he can do it in limited minutes. I wish he would play more minutes, obviously, but we need John Collins back in there tonight. I don't see him on the injury report, so I wouldn't mind him. He is center eligible at $6,700. Don't hate that play.
No, excellent breakdown. I'm a little bit different. I do like this. I mean, the matchup can't get any better for Luka. It's still a nut matchup here. I actually like pairing Luka with Daniel Gafford here. I like the take on Daniel Gafford. I really like the spot for Daniel Gafford. I like pairing those two together, I think, here in tournaments. If you're going in on Luka, you're hoping the game stays close. It's the highest total on the slate, second tightest spread in the entire slate, right? And, I mean, it's hard to see one of the best rated values on the entire slate be also the most expensive player on the slate. So it's an interesting dynamic. The game total, right, 238, just an 8-point spread as well. Definitely helps when you're paying 12-8 for a guy like Luka here. Like I said, just missed the triple-double. They're coming off a 3 days rest as well. Heading into Utah here, I do like this spot quite a bit. If you can't get up to Luka, I think Kyrie Irving's fine. But if I'm spending up, I'd rather just go up to Luka on Dallas. And then Daniel Gafford, I do think is fine. Not even pairing with Luka. Obviously, you don't need to pair these guys. Correlation isn't really what you build your lineups around in basketball like it is some other sports. But Daniel Gafford at 5'9", coming off his best game, I believe, as a Maverick, right? Dropped 42 in the same matchup earlier last week. I think it's a great spot for him again. On the Utah side, Jordan Clarkson is back, right, for Utah here. Lauri Markkanen is definitely the best player, but he's also the most expensive at $8K for this Utah size. I really don't like any of these Utah guys. I mean, yeah, you could pull a Lauri Markkanen here, but I mean, he's always got a ceiling. That's our guy Rio. Our guy Rio's man, right? Lauri. He seems to be the Markkanen whisperer. Coming off a top 10 finish at the live final. Congrats to him. 60K richer in his pocket. Might have to check out if Rio's on any of these Jazz in this highest total on the slate and second tightest spread. He's got his slate plan up over there, and he'll have his core up. So maybe he's on a Lauri tonight, but you'll have to wait and see and get his access to his slate plan and join SHIPIT Nation here to get that.
Let me.
Yeah, go on.
Let me clarify something real quick for Marquee Music Group. No, I'm just saying, I like Irving. I like Gafford. Not over Donkey, which I'm assuming you meant Doncic, Luka. I'm just saying point per dollar, and just to get different, I like those guys, not over Luka. Obviously, I think Luka has potential to score 80 plus, but just saying point per dollar, I think Kyrie gets into the 50s tonight, could get into the 60s, and I think point per dollar he can match Luka and ultimately be on the winner. As Nades always says, if you have unlimited salary, call your DraftKings rep. See if he can unlock that unlimited salary for you tonight. You can just jam all the stuff in there.
Jam all the studs. But hey, man, it is a slate where we do have a lot of value, right? We do have a lot of value. So that's obviously why Luka's getting the ownership he's getting. That on top of the best stone nut matchup for guards in all of basketball, and the highest total on the slate with the second tightest spread. So you got three strikes you're out. Well, 3 strikes you're in here tonight with Luka. I mean, 3 things, all the things going in his favor. We'll see. Time will tell if he pays off that 12-8 price tag or not. But I definitely like the spot for him. Let's talk about the last game on the slate here, Memphis and Denver. This is an interesting game here because, right, there's a lot of news, mainly on the Denver side. Denver sitting at 15-point favorites right now, 214 total, so one of the lowest on the slate. But if you look at the questionable tags, Jokic's questionable, Jamal Murray's questionable, Aaron Gordon's questionable, Michael Porter's questionable. On the other end, Stevens, Desmond Bane, and LaRavia are questionable for Memphis. So tons of news in this one. I see some guys talking about, how do you build your teams? Are you building your team with the DeAndre Jordan swap, right? If Jokic gets ruled out here, talk about this game. No ownership really is going to this game as it sits, right? Massive spread here. Definitely got to wait for news on these questionable tags. Talk about this one, what you think you're going to do with Memphis and Denver here.
Yeah, obviously, we're kind of in a holding pattern right now, a wait and see approach. Let's just start with the Grizzlies side. And for me, there's nobody on that team that I'm interested in playing at this point in the season. So I'm completely out on the Grizzlies. And you got, arguably the 4 best players on the Nuggets side, all listed with the questionable tag. So it's what are you there? I think this is a situation, Nate, we talk about strategy all the time, is you want to have a 2v2 swap, right? Because if you're on Jokic right now and he gets ruled out, you're going to want to switch to somebody, and that somebody is going to be Luka, in my opinion. So you're going to have to find that $900 elsewhere. So I think you need to have a 2v2 ready to go for that, because those games do tip off at the same time. So we're going to have to wait and see what is with Jokic. Now, if it's Murray that you're on and he gets ruled out, then I think you could switch to someone like a Kyrie who's $1,000 more. So I think that's kind of the way we have to wait and see approach. But I don't think you can obviously do, you know, 1-for-1. I think it needs to be a 2v2 or possibly even a 3v3 if you wanted to go that route. Interested on your take with that, but that's kind of how I'm gonna be approaching it with my teams.
Yeah, I think a good way to go tonight, because obviously I really like that Dallas-Utah game, right? I think that's one of the most competitive games on the slate and should be one of the highest total, highest scoring games on the slate. Locks at the same time this game does, so it kind of gives you an out. I like forcing 2 or 3 of these guys, these late night hammer guys, into your builds to give you flexibility for this Denver news, right? Because, I mean, Jamal Murray misses, Reggie Jackson becomes a great play. Caldwell Pope would get all the minutes he can handle. He's the only starter right now that doesn't have a questionable tag. Christian Braun, Peyton Watson, DeAndre Jordan all become better plays if they're starter ahead of them, right? The Porters, the Gordons, the Jokic's miss. So I think it's way too hard to analyze right now. Desmond Bane obviously is a big piece too on the Memphis side, right? Memphis's injury list looks like a paper scroll. And then if Desmond Bane misses, right, that becomes even longer. So having 2 or 3 of these guys at the 9 p.m. Eastern time slot in your lineups to give you flexibility, you can always pivot right to some of those Dallas-Utah guys. I think is the way you approach this. It's just too hard to break it down right now. If I had to guess right now, my lean is probably Jamal Murray is the one that's going to sit in this game here, which would obviously make a lot of these guys better plays. It would definitely make Reggie Jackson a better play because he would slide in the starting lineup for him, and his minutes would become secure. But if you're approaching this, how I'm going to approach it is keep 2 or 3 spots at least for these late 2 games, and then you can always go to those Dallas-Utah players if the Denver news doesn't shake out the way you thought it was going to. So that's kind of how I'm going to approach it. Any thoughts on that, Hamwich?
Yeah, nope. I totally agree. My guy Newman's in there talking KCP. Man, please don't play KCP. Well, I guess you could if a lot of those guys sit, but it's going to be those big 4 for me. Someone like Jokic sits. I don't think Gordon would be the worst play. Kind of slide in there, maybe get some of those big minutes. You would know that Jordan is going to get heavily owned. Should he, especially if we get that news early, and I think Gordon may get some of the extra shots, rebounds, blocks, things like that, that maybe Jokic typically gets.
Well, that's all 9 games here on the slate. Obviously, a lot of injury news on this slate, majority of it being later tonight. We did obviously get some of the injury news kind of in the middle of the slate, right, earlier today with the Wemby stuff. But overall, I think it's definitely an interesting slate. There's a lot of ways to go. We'll have all of our stuff, our slate plan for real. I should say top 10 real, right? One of the best basketball minds and DFS players in the land, in my opinion. Very underrated is Rio Hebrew Cheetah. If he's out there listening, congratulations on a great weekend. Hopefully everything worked out well for you and Title out there in Arizona. And you got 60 more stacks in your pocket. So definitely you and the girl there can't be complaining about that too much. But hopefully you made it back home to your house there in the travel. But he's got his slate plan up already over at SHIPIT Nation. Again, if you guys want access to his content, his core plays, has been smashing and grinding basketball all season long, does our slate plan each and every night, does our showdown write-ups every night that there's the featured showdown. Use that promo code HOOP15 if you're not a member yet. Get you 15% off. You'll join in, do a month. Try us out for a month. Comes out to about $2 a day, $2 and some change a day for every sport that you need. Pay less for content, play more in DFS contest. On DraftKings, on FanDuel is our slogan, our motto over here, Hoop 15, 15% off. But that's going to do it for this edition of our NBA show for Monday, March 25th. Good luck tonight in your contest. Hope to see those SHIPIT Nation logos at the top. For Hamwich, I'm Nadesify. Let's ship it.